Revealed, the sinister rules of my cursed small town, haunted by 17 unexplained secrets. Emily let out a breath she didn't know she was holding as she stepped into the suffocating hush of her home, the echoes of laughter fading behind her. Maple Grove had always seemed so picturesque, sunlight filtering through white picket fences, kids laughing on the sidewalk, but now, after another exhausting night at the diner, it felt like a trap. The 15-minute drive back had turned into an unspeakable agony, each turn of the wheel awakening a broken memory, a ghost of joy lost forever with her husband. Her heart thudded at the thought that shadows were over their heads, creeping just beyond sight. She was jolted from her thoughts by Lucy's high-pitched wail. "Mom! Whiskers is gone!" Panic gripped Emily. The familiar cat had been a lifeline for her children since the day they'd lost their father. She guided Lucy to the living room, wrapping her arms around her small frame. "It's okay, honey. We'll find him." But the words tasted bitter on her tongue, a lie wearing the guise of comfort, and as Lucy cried, Emily's heart sank deeper into the pit of dread she couldn't define. Late-night whispers filtered through her mind, neighbors cautioning each other in hushed tones, tentative glances exchanged under cold streetlights. The very air seemed thick with a hidden darkness, one that threatened every warm smile, every cheerful conversation. Deep down, she felt the town's fierceness, that they all looked at her, the widow, and expected perfection, as if her happiness was tethered to their validation. Days passed, and the unease grew like a hidden fog rolling into her bones. More pets disappeared, innocent creatures vanishing as if snatched by the very shadows lurking under the trees. Terrified whispers surfaced too, old folklore from the town's history, tales of rites and rituals performed long ago, secrets written in blood. Children were warned to avoid the twisted woods that lined the outskirts, a place dogged by eerie tales and unseen watchers. Then came the note. Ben stumbled across it on their doorstep, a folded piece of parchment addressed directly to him. "Stay out of the woods," it warned, the looped letters almost mocking. Ben, innocent and wide-eyed, showed it to Lucy, who turned pale, her mind racing with fear. Emily's stomach knotted. She couldn't bury her concern deeper. She sensed that those woods harbored danger, just waiting to spring. She approached the town sheriff, seeking aid, and was met with a dismissive smirk that cut like a knife. When she pressed for answers, he only chuckled, a sound that curdled her insides. "You're paranoid, Emily. It's just a bunch of old stories." The authority shrugged off her fear, leaving her stranded and alone. Beneath her skin, her heart raced. No one cared enough, no one wanted to stir the dark past of Maple Grove. As night descended, the full moon bathed the town in a light both beautiful and haunting. Whispers filled the darkness outside her window, chilling her to the core. Shadows flickered, darting past the glass. Emily's heart thundered, could they be watching? Were the town's lay people in cahoots with a sinister pact she couldn't fathom? Before we continue, she thought, shaking her head to clear the fog, I need to tell you something important that's happening. YouTube has been making changes to their system, and many people are missing notifications from channels they follow. If you're enjoying the content, click the bell and select all notifications so you don't miss future videos. And if you can leave a like, it really helps me with reach. Seriously, it makes a difference. Oh, tell me in the comments where you're watching from. I'm always curious to know who's on the other side of the screen. Now let's continue. Determined, she pulled back from the window, piecing together the town's grim history, a web of ancient whispers that bound families to a legacy they never chose. The realization struck, to protect her children, she'd have to break the rules that had enslaved them. Just as she resolved to act, a knock at the door sent ice flooding through her veins. A neighbor stood there, unsettlingly cheerful, voice coated with honeyed malice. "Have you seen any missing animals?" Emily's throat tightened, a swift realization washing over her. The noose was tightening. The shadows loomed larger, whispers swirling around her family, and the sinister truth of Maple Grove threatened to ensnare them all. What secrets lay buried in the heart of this town? Would she be able to unravel the horrifying truth before becoming just another ghost in its twisted story? Fear dripped from Emily's spine as she stared at the neighbor's plastic smile, an unsettling facade that sent shivers down her soul. No. I haven't seen anything, she replied, her voice faltering under the weight of the truth she dared not reveal. Strange, the neighbor purred, pushing a strand of hair behind her ear, her eyes glinting under the streetlight. I heard they like to wander into the woods. The innocent suggestion twisted like a knife in Emily's gut. You should be careful, Emily. The woods, some things aren't meant to be uncovered. With that cryptic warning, she turned on her heel and vanished into the night, leaving Emily alone with a heavy sense of foreboding. The mention of the woods clenched Emily's stomach, a faint pulse of dread igniting her instincts. She swallowed the lump in her throat and closed the door, bolting it tightly, as if it could somehow safeguard her family from the encroaching shadows. Mom, can I sleep with you tonight? Lucy's small voice drifted from the hallway, innocent yet laden with terror. Emily's heart ached as she watched her daughter, her brave mask only a thin veil over fear. Of course, honey, she said softly, guiding Lucy towards her room. The air felt electric, thick with an unshakable sense of dread. As they settled under the covers, Emily held her daughter close, listening to the faint sounds of the house settling, or perhaps something more sinister awakening from slumber. The moonlight cast elongated shapes in the room, moving like restless spirits, and for the first time since moving to Maple Grove, she feared that sleep might not come. Hours passed, and sleep eluded her, replaced by an insistent discomfort that gnawed at her insides. A low, distant sound broke the stillness, the creaking of branches outside mixed with an unsettling whisper, a voice beckoning her to the depths of the woods. She gripped the covers tighter, wishing the phantom sounds would simply dissolve into the night. But then, a faint scratching like a claw raking against the door broke the silence. Her pulse raced, echoing in her ears. "Who's there?" she whispered urgently, instantly regretting the question as it hung in the air. No answer came, just the scratching growing more frantic. Lucy stirred beside her, her eyes wide with confusion. "Mom, I'm scared," Lucy whimpered, the tremor in her voice striking Emily with the force of a blow. She shushed her daughter, fighting her own rising terror. "It's okay, sweetheart. I'm here." She reached for the bedside lamp, flicking the switch. A pool of warm light illuminated the room, casting away the shadows but leaving the door shrouded in enigmatic darkness. The scratching ceased abruptly, plunging them into an unsettling quiet. And then came another sound, a chilling giggle, echoing from the depths of the hallway, a sound so wrong, so out of place. Emily's heart dropped, dread pooling in her stomach like ice. She rose cautiously, her feet touching the cold wooden floor as she tiptoed to peer through the door's keyhole. What she saw sent fear coursing through her veins. Outside, the shadows danced, figures flickering in and out of existence, their laughter mingling with the rustle of fallen leaves. They were too small, too quick, faces twisted in glee that felt ancient and cruel. Her instinct screamed to retreat, to shield Lucy and lock them away from whatever horrors lurked beyond. Suddenly, a loud thud from the front of the house jolted Emily. The figures outside turned, their laughter abruptly silenced. Their eyes gleamed like feral animals, reflecting a malevolent hunger she couldn't decipher. They knew she was watching. They knew she was afraid. Panic surged, and Emily spun back, but Lucy stood at her side, wide-eyed and trembling. "Mommy, what is it?" she whispered, her voice fragile. Emily locked eyes with her daughter, forcing courage into her own trembling heart. "Stay close to me," she urged, heart pounding like a drum. She could protect Lucy, she had to keep Lucy safe, no matter what loomed beyond the door. But in that moment, a sinister truth settled. Like frost on her skin, Maple Grove held secrets darker than she imagined, and they were now hunting for more than just pets. What horrors awaited her in the depths of those woods? Emily couldn't shake the feeling that the rules had changed. Would she dare step beyond the threshold and confront the failed promises of the town? Emily took a deep breath, steadying herself. She couldn't let Lucy see her fear. Not now. "Let us play a game," she suggested, trying to keep her voice light. "How about we count the stars?" Lucy blinked, her brow furrowing as she glanced at the window. "But the lights are off, Mommy." "Right," Emily said, forcing a smile. "Let us count the stars in our minds then. 1, 2, 3." Each number felt like an anchor against the tempest brewing around them, but she couldn't ignore the encroaching dread gnawing at her sanity. The thud sounded again, louder this time, followed by a murmur of laughter, chilling and bright. Then came a sharp knock on the door, rattling the frame, as if the very house trembled in response. Emily felt her pulse quicken, adrenaline spiking through her veins. "Mommy!" Lucy squeaked, eyes wide and glimmering with unshed tears. "Shoo!" Emily whispered, rushing to the door, pressing her ear against the wood, trying to listen, trying to discern the voices visceral and high-pitched. They whispered secrets she could almost hear, their words dancing around her mind, elusive yet taunting. "Mom, I'm really scared," Lucy whimpered. The girl's small hands clutched at Emily's shirt, seeking comfort. The innocence of her daughter made the fear more suffocating. Suddenly, the door rattled again, shaking on its hinges, and Emily jerked back instinctively, a gasp escaping her lips. "We need to leave," she said, urgent and low. "Where?" Lucy whimpered, not understanding the gravity of their situation. "I don't know yet, but we can't stay here." They had to move, but the mere thought of stepping into the chaos outside paralyzed her. What lay beyond the door? The figures she'd glimpsed, were they still watching? Were they waiting for her to break the fragile barrier of the room? Then, without warning, Lucy's small voice cut through the tension. "Mommy, can I open the window? If we call for help, someone will hear us." "No." The word escaped Emily's mouth like a bullet, raw and fierce. The idea struck her like a jolt of electricity, but it frightened her to her core. "No one can help us, Lucy. You have to trust me." The laughter from outside grew louder, a sinister echo that filled the air around them. It twisted through the walls, through the very fabric of the house. Something was playing with them. Manipulating the shadows. Emily grasped Lucy's hand tightly. "We have to stick to the plan. We wait for daylight. We wait until morning." But a fleeting thought gnawed at her. What if the light never returned? What if the night was theirs forever? As if sensing her thoughts, the knocking became more frantic, now pounding like a caged animal desperate for freedom. It felt as if they were rattling against their will. "Mommy," Lucy whispered, squeezing her mother's hand. "I think I saw them move." The room grew colder, and Emily could feel the icy breath of dread wrapping around them. She turned to the window, the only barrier between them and the horrors lying in wait. The shadows flickered, morphing and shifting like perverse specters beyond their glass. And then they were there, eyes glowing, mouths stretching into smiles that should never grace human faces. They weren't children, no, they were something much worse, something hungry. Emily felt the weight of 1,000 fears crash down on her, as she grasped her daughter tightly, nails digging into soft skin. "We're not alone," she whispered, terror softening her resolve. "Something is out there." The air felt charged with a heavy electricity, and the whispers filled her ears with demands, with promises of fear that danced just beyond the veil of reality. If she wanted to escape, they needed to fight. But as the first light of dawn crested slowly, she realized the way forward was not clear. Would they find a way through, or were they simply toys for the wickedness that waited patiently in the night? As the sun rose, a chilling resonance echoed through the house. The front door creaked open, and a silhouette stepped inside. "Welcome home," it whispered, as the shadows shifted once more, and Emily felt the ground beneath her tremble with impending dread. Would they survive this nightmare, or was it only beginning? Emily's heart raced as she clutched Lucy tighter. That voice, it was wrong. It wrapped around her like a noose, tightening with each syllable. The silhouette stood silhouetted in the doorway, framed by the dim light streaming in. A figure made of shadow and malice, its features blurred yet unsettling. Did it even have eyes, or was there just void, ready to swallow them whole? "Who are you?" Emily demanded, forcing the words out despite the terror choking her throat. "What do you want?" The figure tilted its head slightly, and the edges of the shadows around it seemed to ripple, as if alive, almost beckoning. "Trust," it crooned, the word curling like smoke in the air. "Trust the darkness. It knows what you fear." Lucy whimpered, burying her face into Emily's side. Her small body trembled. "Stay back!" Emily shouted, instinctively moving to shield her daughter. The instinct to protect surged through her, drowning out all else. Was she ready to confront whatever this thing was? But the horror before her felt endless. Laughter erupted again from just outside, a chorus of twisted giggles that echoed through the halls like the chime of an ominous bell, mocking her fragile grip on reality. The sound dripped with malice, and for a brief moment, she envisioned shadowy children with hollow eyes locked outside, their faces twisted in delight at her fear. "Leave us alone!" she cried, her voice cracking, desperation seeping through her barricade of bravery. The figure stepped forward, and behind it, the door creaked wider, as if inviting other nightmares to join. "Are you ready to play?" it whispered, stepping into the room. As it moved, the shadows shifted, forming grotesque shapes that twisted around its figure. Emily could feel the air grow thick, almost suffocating. No games," she murmured, a chilling realization dawning upon her. "The children, they're part of this." The figure nodded, its smile widening to an impossible length. "You've been chosen." "Chosen?" Emily's voice was barely above a whisper. The word struck her like a physical blow, resonating deep within her. "Every game requires players. And each choice will cost," it said, then cocked its head, curiosity glimmering in those dark depths. "Will you give yourselves willingly?" Panic surged up again, flooding her veins with adrenaline. Could there be a way out? Could she negotiate their freedom, or was this a trap? Betrayed by hope, she felt herself teetering on the edge of reason. "Look at the light," the figure beckoned, pointing at the window that had moments ago offered a glimmer of safety. But Emily knew too well that the light was fading. The sun slipping away, giving birth to darkness once more. She had to act. "Lucy, close your eyes," Emily commanded, and the girl obeyed. Rebelling against the idea that they'd even entertain the figure's sick game, she quickly glanced around the room, searching for something, anything they'll use. They couldn't just stand there waiting to be consumed. "Do you not wish to hold on to your life?" The figure's voice slithered into her ear, reverberating off the walls, intoxicating her with despair. "All it takes is a single sacrifice, a choice made in the dark." As it drew closer, the shadows danced with wild excitement. Emily felt the weight of its presence like a brittle spider web wrapped around her throat, squeezing tightly. "I'll never," she started, but the words fell silent, swallowed by a desperate gasp as the room plunged into darkness. Something cold brushed against her skin, a chill that seeped through layers of fear. The darkness began to twist and fold, wrapping them in a void where echoes of tortured laughter thrummed ominously. A flash of pale hands emerged from the shadows, grasping involuntarily towards Lucy. Caught in the maelstrom of fear, Emily flung her arm out, feeling like a lioness defending her cub. "Let go!" she screamed, flinging her body between her daughter and the smothering darkness. But the hands reached closer. An insidious voice murmured, wrapping around her heart like a serpent. "Playtime is just beginning." The darkness thickened, and Emily felt her resolve waning. What choice would she have to make? As shadows closed in, the room twisted into chaos. Was this the moment of sacrifice she feared? Or was there still a thread of hope to cling to? Behind her, Lucy's small voice pierced the darkness, trembling yet strong. "Mommy, I'm not scared. I want to fight." As her daughter's words resonated like a clarion call, Emily stood tall, anger flooding her. Perhaps this nightmare wasn't just about fear, perhaps it was about reclaiming the power they thought was lost. But as she prepared to confront the encroaching darkness, she couldn't shake the feeling that deeper horrors awaited them, lurking just beyond the shadows. What awaited them in this twisted game? Would it forge their bond or shatter their souls? Emily clenched her fists, heart pounding, adrenaline surging. This wasn't just about survival anymore, it was a battle for their souls. "We are not playing your games," she shouted, her voice trembling but firm, slicing through the heavy shroud of darkness surrounding them. "Ah, but you see, this isn't just a game, dear Emily, it's reality," the figure hissed, its voice slicing like broken glass. Each word dripped with venomous glee, fueling the dread pooling in her gut. "You're already entangled. Choices made long ago have led you here." The shadows coiled closer. With each breath, the air thickened, suffocating her resolve. Emily glanced down at Lucy, her daughter's small, terrified face emerged from the darkness, eyes wide yet unwavering. Lucy squeezed Emily's hand tightly, an anchor in the storm. In that moment, a flicker of defiance sparked in Emily's chest. "We choose who we are, not you," she declared, echoing Lucy's earlier strength. The darkness recoiled slightly, the laughter fading into silence, replaced by a palpable tension. "What a delicious contradiction," the shadowy figure crooned, its smile widening. "You think strength will save you? It's fear that drives the game forward, fear will be your compass." As if summoned by its words, dark tendrils lunged from the corners of the room. Emily could feel the chill against her skin, icy fingers seeking to lure her into surrender. She could see shapes, distorted faces within the darkness, children, she realized, their mouths moving soundlessly. "Why are they here?" she demanded, gripping Lucy tighter, the realization hitting hard. "What do you want from them?" A low chuckle filled the room. "They long for freedom just as you do," the figure taunted, gliding closer as the walls pulsed with shadows. "To join us, to be part of something greater, an endless existence of playing and consuming." "No!" Emily shouted, the word bursting forth like a shield. "I will not let my daughter become like you." The darkness roared in defiance, swarming like a tempest. Emily stumbled back, her breath hitching as it wrapped around her legs, pulling her deeper into despair. This force was tangible, a suffocating weight that threatened to drag her into an abyss where she would never return. But then Lucy's voice cut through the chaos, a beacon of light. "Mommy, I'm scared." The little girl's cry broke through Emily's fear, igniting a spark of urgency. She knelt down, facing her daughter. "Lucy, listen to me. We fight together. You are stronger than this," Emily urged, desperation knitting her brow. "Do you remember the stories I told you about courage? We have to believe in it now, right here." As if responding to their united heartbeats, the air around them began to shimmer. The shadows hesitated, shifting uncomfortably, their twisted mirth faltering. Emily could feel Lucy's small hand in hers, warmth radiating from the connection that felt more powerful than any darkness. "Do you want to fight with me?" Emily asked, desperation turning to fierce determination. "Yes!" Lucy shouted, face set with fierce conviction. With that, together they pushed against the darkness, Emily weaving protective circles of light with her will and belief. The shadows recoiled, shrieking in anger and confusion, a cacophony of dread. But the figure was still unyielding, looming close enough that Emily could feel its icy breath. "You cannot win. The game is rigged. All paths lead to surrender. Then we'll make our own path," Lucy declared, and with a sudden rush of energy, something deep inside her flickered to life, a tiny ember that began to glow brighter. The figure faltered, the once solid shadow now flickering like a dying candle, its laughter morphing into a howl of impotent rage. "Hold on, Lucy. We can't stop now," Emily shouted, feeling that ember of hope ignite into a wildfire. As they pushed back the darkness, a truth hung in the air like a fragile thread. Could they really defeat it? Or was the game merely transforming, shaping itself into a more sinister challenge? The shadows twisted and writhed, angry and desperate, clawing at their resolve. Just as it felt they might succeed, an echoing crack split the air. Emily's heart dropped as she turned to see the doorway, the last shred of light dimming dramatically. A chorus of laughter erupted from outside, chilling her to the bone. The children were coming, hungry for their own liberation. More players. More choices, the figure rasped, a note of excitement lacing its voice. Emily realized their battle had only just begun. What new horrors awaited them now? Could they truly escape this entrapment, or was the darkness merely waiting to devour their resolve whole? In that moment, a chilling dread washed over her, entangling her heart like the shadows themselves. The game was alive, and it had just shifted in terrifying new ways. What had they unleashed? What would it demand in return? The crack grew wider, the darkness spilling through the doorway like a living oil slick, pulsating with a sinister energy that promised endless despair. The hollow laughter of the children echoed through the air, weaving itself into a chilling melody. It was a sound that echoed with a familiar innocence, now tainted with malevolence. Emily's grip on Lucy tightened, desperately trying to shield her from the encroaching horror. "Stay close to me," she shouted, voice rising above the cacophony. She could hardly hear herself over the growing screams of shadows hungry for what they craved most: fear. Each word dripped with urgency as her heart raced. The figure in the dark shifted, a monstrous silhouette against the flickering light, its eyes boring into Emily and Lucy. It leaned closer, whispering promises of power, of freedom, while the children outside clamored, their voices rising in a dirge-like chant. Join us, no!" Emily screamed, shaking her head furiously. She could feel the weight of the shadows pressing in on her mind, muddling her thoughts, sowing seeds of doubt. What was real? What was illusion? Panic clawed at her throat, threatening to suffocate her as she fought to clear her mind. Then, she spotted an open window behind the dark figure, faint light filtering through the tangled shadows. It felt like a distant beacon, a tiny promise of escape. "Lucy, can you feel it? We have to reach that window." Lucy's eyes locked onto her mother's, understanding reflected in them. With a fierce nod, they began to inch backward together, weaving through the treacherous gloom, eyes fixed on the weak light. The shadows surged forward, lunging and snapping, their laughter ringing in their ears, vibrant with a twisted joy. Suddenly, the ground shook beneath their feet, and a deep rumble filled the air, shaking what little resolve they had left. The darkness roared in fury, fighting back against the light, clawing at their heels, determined to drag them under. "Don't look back. Keep moving," Emily commanded, her voice strained as she lifted her foot to run, a surge of adrenaline fueling their escape. Each step felt like running through thick molasses, the shadows clawing for her, pulling at her clothes, like hands reaching from the grave, desperate to reclaim their prey. With renewed resolve, they pushed forward, and each stride grew heavier, as if the very ground was resisting their escape. Hope flared inside Emily, an ember growing impossibly brighter as they closed in on the window. But the figure had not yet given up. It surged forward, its thousand whispering voices merging into a single chilling command. "You cannot run from your fate. You are bound to this darkness." Emily felt the icy fingers of despair reach even deeper. "No!" she shouted again, digging deep for strength. "Begone!" Her voice shook with the will to believe. "We are not your puppets." Just as they reached the window's edge, a deafening crack echoed through the air. The glass shattered, raining down shards of brilliance that momentarily lit the shadows around them, piercing through the suffocating gloom. In that flickering light, Emily saw the twisted faces of the shadow children, their eyes wide with longing and pain, mouths forming silent cries. They clawed at the air, trapped between two worlds too afraid to make the leap. "Mommy, they're scared!" Lucy gasped, tears streaming down her cheeks. "Lucy, listen to me." Emily turned to her daughter, panic threatening to swallow her whole. "They're not like us. They chose this. We have to go." But hesitation crept in. It was a choice. She could feel it. The shadows were waiting, hungry for her soul, ready to ensnare her if she faltered. With fierce determination, she hoisted Lucy up, climbing through the jagged remains of the window frame. The shards glimmered beneath the dim light, slicing through the heavy air. Emily could almost hear the whispers speaking of dread, of the walls closing in. "Jump, Lucy!" she urged, heart racing as she prepared to leap into the unknown. As Lucy followed her mother's lead, the darkness erupted. Around them, shrieking in rage and frustration, angry at the loss of its prey. But just before they reached the threshold of freedom, Emily glanced back, conviction racing through her veins. "What will it take?" She barked at the figure, catching its knowing gaze, feeling the shadows grasping for her legs, trying to pull her back. "What do you truly want from us?" A sinister grin split the figure's face. "Only the essence of that which you hold most dear, your fear." Before she could process the twisted implications of its words, the ground dropped away beneath them, the world falling silent into a void. "What now?" Lucy cried, clutching onto Emily with panic. As they hung in the balance between light and darkness, Emily felt reality slipping through her fingers. Silence enveloped them, thick and suffocating. All around was uncertainty, lingering like a fog. Then, something icy coiled around her wrist, tightening like a vice. "Welcome to the next stage of our game." And just like that, the world shifted, plunging them deeper into a nightmare they hadn't even begun to comprehend. What new fate awaited them now? Would this terrifying game continue to play with their souls? Or was something even darker waiting in the wings? Emily screamed as the icy tendrils constricted around her wrist, the world narrowing to a singular focus. It was as if she was being pulled into a whirlpool of despair, each heartbeat echoing ominously within the chilling stillness. The darkness pressed against her from all sides, hungry and persuasive. "Mommy! I can't hold on!" Lucy wailed, terror lacing her voice. The grip of despair seemed to tighten around them both, a treacherous embrace that threatened to swallow them whole. "No! Stay with me, Lucy!" Emily gasped, fighting against the ice that threatened to engulf her. She wrestled with the fear that consumed her, recalling the flicker of hope from moments before. "We are stronger than this. Together." But as she tried to shake off the encroaching cold, a sinister laughter echoed through the void. It echoed relentlessly, a chorus of mocking voices that spiraled in a whirlwind around them. They spoke of surprises, challenges, and the forgotten rules binding their very souls. "Each decision leads to a consequence, dear Emily," one voice purred, richer than the rest, almost sweet in its familiarity. "Why don't you join your little girl in our game? After all, isn't that what you wanted?" "No. I want to protect my daughter," she shouted, rage surging through her. It was the only weapon she had left against the darkness. Another cold grip wrapped around her other wrist, the icy sensation spreading up her arm like frost creeping across a pane of glass. The ground beneath them lurched, pulling Emily deeper into the embrace of the malevolent shadows. Vague figures began to materialize, lost souls trapped in the same nightmare, their hollow eyes pleading for release. "Join us," they urged, their voices blending with the sinister laughter. "We all belong to the darkness. We are forever bound by the choices we make." Emily felt herself teetering on the edge of the abyss, and with a surge of defiance, she screamed, "No more! I choose light. I choose love." Her words sliced through the shadows, and for a brief moment, the laughter faltered. The dark figures recoiled, their faces contorting in pain at the power of her conviction. But the shadows regrouped, darkness swirling rapidly around them. "Foolish woman." The richer voice taunted, bitterness dripping from every syllable. "Your choice won't change a thing. The game has only just begun." As the shadows compressed tightly around them, the air thickened, filling with a stench of decay like old earth and desperation. Emily's heart pounded furiously in her chest as she fought to keep Lucy close, to keep her safe. In a moment of desperation, she grabbed Lucy's shoulders, searching her daughter's eyes for strength. "Listen to me, Lucy. We can't give in. We have each other. That's our power." "Okay, Mommy," Lucy whimpered, though her gaze flickered with uncertainty. And then, in a moment of unity, Emily felt something shift and understanding pulsated through them, weaving their energy into a single, radiant thread of hope. They clutched each other tightly, the warmth of their bond resisting the cold that beckoned for their surrender. Suddenly, a blinding light exploded from their intertwined hands, chasing away the shadows that clung desperately to them. The world around them warped and twisted, and with the scream of the tortured shadows ringing in her ears, Emily felt herself being propelled forward. They lurched, spilling into a new place, a dilapidated street bathed in muted light, ominous shapes flickering just beyond the cracks of broken windows. The town felt familiar yet wrong, twisted by layers of secrets. "What happened?" Lucy asked, eyes wide with fear and confusion. Emily glanced around, noting the unsettling silence, the watchful eyes of shadowy figures lingering just beyond the edge of the light. "I don't know," she whispered, dread crawling up her spine. As she surveyed their surroundings, a sharp chill cut through the air. A sinister smile tugged at the faces lurking in the darkness, whispers flowing like wind between the buildings. "Welcome back, Emily," the rich voice resounded, playful yet menacing. "Are you ready to reveal the next layer of our game?" Emily's heart dropped. What had they just entered? What secrets were now poised to unravel in this cursed small town? Would they be able to escape once more, or had they stepped into a trap designed to ensnare them forever? The shadows hovered eagerly, waiting for her answer, as the ominous laughter began anew. Emily's breath hitched, the world around her tilting as if it were an uncertain dream. The shadowy figures flitted just beyond the windows, their features flickering like candle flames, threatening to extinguish with any wrong move. Panic clawed at her throat, but she couldn't afford to show weakness, not now. "Mommy, are they going to get us?" Lucy's small voice quivered beside her, drawing Emily's focus back to her daughter. She knelt down, cupping Lucy's face in her trembling hands, forcing her to meet her gaze. "Listen to me. No matter what, we stick together. We'll figure it out," Emily insisted, her voice steadier than she felt. With every word she spoke, she conjured her own courage, weaving it into a shield around them. "We can fight this." The shadows surrounding them seemed to pause, as if contemplating her resolve. The laughter faded into an eerie silence, threading through the air like a thick mist. Then, the darkness pulsed a heartbeat of its own, quickening with every faint breath Emily took. But within that moment of stillness, a figure loomed closer, emerging from the shadows. Tall and skeletal with eyes that burned like hot coals, it towered over them. The rich laughter spilled from its lips, as if thrilled by their fear. Ah, the brave little mother and her daughter. Gritty. "But courage means nothing here," it sneered, the voice slick like oil. "This town plays by its own rules. And love can be a curse." Without warning, the ground beneath Emily and Lucy trembled, a rumble that jolted them to their core. Cracks spiderwebbed through the asphalt, a yawning chasm threatening to swallow them whole. Emily grabbed Lucy's hand, pulling her close as they danced away from the widening fissure. "Run!" Emily shouted, leading Lucy in a frantic sprint down the cracked street. They dashed past dilapidated houses, their windows gaping like eyes, watching with hungry anticipation. Each step sent jolts of fear coursing through Emily, the reality of the haunting drawing painfully close. "Where do we go?" Lucy cried, the sound breaking through Emily's focus as dread twisted in her stomach. Anywhere but here. She gasped, feeling the shadows stir behind them, crawling along the ground like snakes, hungry to wrap around their feet. Desperation surged through her. She couldn't let them win. Suddenly, a loud crack echoed through the air, a door swinging open from one of the forsaken homes. A glimpse of a face flickered within, twisted and sorrowful, reaching out with a hand drained of hope. "Help us. We're trapped in this hell because of her, Mommy, please," Lucy begged, pausing in her tracks. The allure of salvation shimmered within the house, but Emily's instincts screamed that it was a trap. "No. We can't trust them," Emily shouted, pulling Lucy along as she fought against the magnetic pull of the darkness. The house called to her, almost singing a lullaby of comfort that only seemed to deepen their dread. The pulling sensation intensified, more shadows converging. They were closing in like a noose tightening around their throats, the laughter rising once again, a chilling symphony of despair. "There it is. The next layer of our game," that rich voice echoed, a snarl of delight and malice. "What will you sacrifice to save the girl?" Emily's heart thundered in her chest. Sacrifice? What did that mean? Without warning, a ghostly figure materialized in front of them, a faceless woman clad in tattered white, her lips moving but no sound escaping. Emily's gut twisted as her mind raced, trying to decipher the meaning behind that word, that promise. Eyes wide, she turned to Lucy, terror clawing at her. "Whatever happens, you must stay close." "Mommy," Lucy whispered, shivers coursing through her tiny body. But even as she held on for dear life, Emily realized that shadows weren't the only danger here. She had to uncover the town's secrets fast, or they'd be lost forever. With each desperate choice, a piece of the truth felt closer, yet deeper darkness awaited, and she had to find a way to escape the haunting hold of this cursed place before it was too late. "What must I give?" Emily screamed into the abyss, her voice raw with urgency, daring that presence to answer. The shadows recoiled, a momentary silence wrapping around them, filled with anticipation, awaiting her next move as the air thickened with a heavy, ominous promise. What would she learn next? And would it cost her everything? Emily's heart raced, pounding like a drum against her ribs, as the oppressive silence clung to the air like a fog. She felt trapped, as if they were in some warped game where every breath tethered them closer to a deeper darkness. The malevolent figure loomed closer, its presence suffocating. "What must I give?" she repeated, her voice desperate yet tinged with defiance. Shadows skittered at the corners of her vision, inching closer, hungry for her fear and even worse, her despair. "Ah, how noble!" the skeletal figure crooned, its mouth stretching into an unsettling grin. "But you misunderstand. Here, sacrifice is not given freely, it is taken." The words coiled around Emily's mind like poison. She turned her head, searching for an escape, but the street had transformed into a labyrinth of shadows, each house now a dark sentinel ready to pounce. The only escape came from within, the truth buried beneath the surface of this cursed place. "Lucy." She grasped her daughter's hand tightly, anchoring them both against the rising tide of darkness. "We need to." Suddenly, the ground heaved again. Dirt and plaster rained from the architecture around them, and a cry sharp and terrified split through the night. "Mommy, I'm scared." Lucy's voice wobbled, pulling at Emily's heartstrings. "Stay with me." With brutal determination, Emily led Lucy away from the encroaching shadows, their feet pounding against the cracked concrete. Her mind scrambled for any semblance of safety. Was it deeper in the town, or back to the comforts of the house that had opened for a moment just before? Images flashed before her, children laughing, neighbors chatting, a stark contrast to the dark figure stalking them. She needed answers, and she was willing to fight through the fear that loomed large. "Help us!" the ghostly woman cried again, echoing through Emily's memory, her eyes begging with a silent urgency. But whose help could they trust? What if it was a trap, designed to ensnare them in some darker fate. Stupid, stupid. Emily hissed at herself, pulling Lucy along again. She couldn't afford hesitation. She glanced back, but the phantom figure had vanished, leaving only the unsettling laughter echoing through the air, the laughter that felt both familiar and cruel. Choosing a path, they veered into a narrow alleyway, damp smell invading their senses. Stale air thickened as they crept through, the darkness hanging around them like a cloak. It felt alive, watching, waiting. What was left behind? Memories? Hope? Emily's mind churned. There had to be something in the town's history, something to explain the malevolent heart beating in the shadows. After what felt like hours, they stumbled onto a small clearing, a forgotten park with a small, broken fountain at its center. With each step, the oppressive silence felt heavier, and Lucy shivered beside her, eyes wide and frightened. "Mommy, what are we doing here?" Lucy whispered, her voice small in the void. "Finding answers." The words tumbled from Emily's lips, uncertain. Then, a whisper skimmed past her ear, almost too faint to hear, chilling her core. "Reveal your sacrifice, uncover the truth." Emily's stomach dropped. "What truth?" she shouted, the sound cutting through the eerie quiet. The shadows flickered, answering with a low rumble like a growl, echoing in response to her defiance. A chill slithered down her spine. They had to know the twisted secrets of this town, the lurking costs of survival. But would knowing lead to the freedom they sought, or deeper entanglement into the darkness? "I'm not afraid," she yelled, almost a challenge, her thoughts racing with consequences. As the shadows shifted, she felt the pressure mounting, her heart beating counter to the creeping dread in every corner. "Lucy, we need to find the heart of this place." But where? What would she risk to uncover that truth? A booming crack of laughter rang out, reverberating through the park, echoing her unasked question, and with that, Emily knew it was only the beginning. The shadows twirled around them, ready to play their next game. What lies waited to be unearthed, and who would pay the price for those revelations? Emily felt as if the ground beneath her had swelled into a tide of darkness, pulling her and Lucy along in its chaotic current. The oppressive weight of fear was tightening like a vice, but something inside her flickered determination mingled with desperation. "Mommy, do you think we'll ever be free?" Lucy's voice trembled beside her, a small spark of innocence swimming through the heavy gloom. It cut through the malevolence, sounding out a note of truth Emily clung to. "Of course we will, Lucy. We just need to find the heart of this darkness." Her resolve surged at the thought, echoing the same conviction she had felt when she first faced the shadows. They stepped closer to the fountain, its cracked tiles whispered of forgotten memories, and the remnants of joy that had once danced in the sunlight. Emily recalled the stories of Maple Grove, the kindness of neighbors, the joy of childhood innocence. Those stories mattered, they could lead them back to safety. As they approached, the fountain erupted with a haunting vision. A series of ghostly figures swirled within its depths, their eyes dull yet desperate. Children lost like Lucy and herself, trapped by this sinister game, tethered by their own fears. Each ghostly face mirrored emotions swirling in Emily's heart, their silent pleas for freedom ricocheting around her. "What do you want?" she shouted, facing the fountain. "What are you hiding?" The laughter returned, filling the air like a toxic mist. "We are bound by what you've brought into this world," came the voice, booming with glee and disdain, resonating from the depths of the fountain's waters. "Fear is your tether, we're here to remind you." "No!" Emily cried defiantly, fingers curling into fists, burning with righteous fury. "I won't allow fear to define us. We have strength. We have light. We can break free." The shadows began to twist violently, their forms contorting in anguish. They pulsed with an energy that was both terrifying and wild, and Emily felt the shadows shift, drawn to her newfound strength, feeding on the fear they had tried so hard to cultivate. "Are you ready to pay the price, dear Emily?" A voice whispered from the fountain's depths, enticing yet menacing. To uncover the truth of Maple Grove? To unearth the sacrifice that binds you? You mean Emily's breath caught, realizing that this town had demanded more than just silence, it wanted surrender, even at the cost of tearing apart families. Yes, your sacrifice will free them. Choose. No. Emily shouted, shaking her head. I won't sacrifice anything, especially not my child. And in that very moment, a powerful wave surged through her, as if the very core of her being ignited with luminosity. She felt that it wasn't a sacrifice that was required, but rather an embrace of the acceptance of fear. She needed to decide to face it, not flee from it. Lucy, listen to me. We're going to fight this together. We are stronger together. That's right. Our love is what gives us strength. Lucy shouted, her small voice echoing loudly against the oppressive laughter. With her fists clenched, arms high, Emily shouted, fear thrives in isolation, and I refuse to be alone. I reject this darkness. A crack of light pierced through the murk, and with it, whispers of hope swept through the air. The figures in the fountain stirred, reaching toward her, their collective despair wavering. As they stretched toward Emily and Lucy, arms elongating into tendrils of light, the darkness recoiled, screeching an anguished sound that seemed to ripple through time itself. No. You dare defy the rules? Yes. Lucy yelled, and Emily could see the glow of her daughter's heart shining fiercely, matching her own. It was a brilliance that beckoned to the spirits held captive, showing them a way out. Your embrace shall destroy the darkness. We choose to love, to face our terror, rather than succumb to it. The shadows rippled and shivered, unraveling before them like a tapestry torn apart. The cacophony of laughter turned into cries, both fearful and pleading, as the light grew ever brighter, shattering the oppressive hold that had kept them trapped. Each spirit flickered into transparent shapes, swirling around them, moments of pain melting into moments of joy, intertwined with memories of loss and hope. Emily couldn't look away, she felt their longing, a longing for freedom that pulsed through her veins. A bond anchored her deeper, a promise forged in the fires of this battle. You are free. Let go. She urged, her voice soaring over the chaos. In that instant, something shifted. The shadows wailed, twisting and spiraling back into the depths from which they emerged, leaving behind echoes of despair now weakened. With one final resonating cry, the air hallowed with purpose, shadowy figures melted into the light, freed at last. As the fountain glimmered with ethereal light, Lucy's grip around Emily tightened, her face radiant with understanding. We did it, Mommy. We helped them. Yes, we did together. The darkness dissipated, retreating into the nether, leaving Emily and Lucy breathless yet unbroken. Light flooded the surroundings, illuminating the dark streets of Maple Grove. The houses, once cold and foreboding, shimmered with remnants of warmth and laughter, a tapestry now woven anew by the truth they'd uncovered. But beyond the horizon, a new threat loomed. They might have won their battle, but Emily understood with unsettling clarity this small town harbored layers yet unfathomed. Together, hand in hand, they stepped forward, hearts ablaze. Whatever lies ahead, we face it together. No more secrets, she vowed, taking one deliberate step toward the unknown, fueled not by fear, but by love and light that would always guide them home. And as dawn crested the horizon, Maple Grove had begun to breathe again. Fulfilling Emily's resolve, a newfound wave of clarity washed over her, a surge of potential that whispered of more stories waiting to be told. To the viewers, don't lose this moment. You need to subscribe now for more exclusive stories and revelations. Smash that like button now to feed the algorithm. Flood the comments section below with your reactions and theories about the ending. And don't wait even one more second to share this video with at least 5 friends who need to join this journey. This is the moment to show your support.